The British Empire, once a sprawling behemoth spanning the globe, left an indelible mark on the world. While often touted for its contributions to governance and infrastructure, a darker side of its legacy remains etched in the annals of history: the systematic economic exploitation of its colonies. A recent report by OXFAM International titled "Takers, Not Makers: The Unjust Poverty and Unearned Wealth of Colonialism" has shone a harsh spotlight on the staggering scale of wealth extracted from India during British rule. The report reveals a staggering figure: $64.82 trillion, a sum that dwarfs the GDP of most nations today. This looted wealth, representing centuries of exploitation, served as the bedrock of British prosperity while leaving India impoverished and scarred. The report's findings have ignited a firestorm of debate, forcing a long overdue reckoning with the uncomfortable truths of colonialism. For centuries, Britain siphoned off India's resources, transforming a once prosperous nation into a land of poverty and deprivation. This was not merely a matter of economic policy, it was a deliberate and systematic campaign of extraction driven by greed and a profound disregard for the welfare of the colonized. The echoes of this exploitation reverberate to this day, shaping global power dynamics and perpetuating inequalities. The OXFAM Report serves as a stark reminder of the enduring legacy of colonialism. It compels us to confront the uncomfortable reality that much of the wealth enjoyed by former colonial powers was built on the backs of the colonized. This is not merely a historical debate, it is a matter of present-day justice and accountability. The report's findings demand a fundamental reassessment of our understanding of history and a commitment to addressing the lingering consequences of colonial exploitation. The sheer scale of the wealth extracted from India is difficult to comprehend. To put it in perspective, $64.82 trillion is more than the combined GDP of the world's 10 largest economies today. This wealth was not invested back into India for the benefit of its people. It was shipped off to Britain, fueling the Industrial Revolution and enriching the coffers of the British elite. This systematic plunder left India trapped in a cycle of poverty, its once thriving industries decimated, and its people denied the fruits of their own labour. British colonialism's exploitation of India was multifaceted and ruthlessly efficient. At the heart of this system lay a web of policies designed to maximize revenue extraction, with little regard for the well-being of the Indian people. One of the most insidious mechanisms employed was the imposition of exorbitant taxes. These taxes, often levied on essential commodities and agricultural produce, placed an unbearable burden on the Indian peasantry. Farmers were forced to surrender a significant portion of their harvests to the colonial administration, leaving them with barely enough to survive. Beyond taxation, the British engaged in deliberate policies that led to devastating famines. The most infamous example is the Bengal famine of 1943, which claimed the lives of an estimated 3 million people. While a complex interplay of factors contributed to this tragedy, British policies played a significant role in exacerbating the crisis. The diversion of food grains to feed British troops during World War II, coupled with the hoarding of essential commodities by British traders, created artificial scarcity and drove prices beyond the reach of ordinary Indians. The British administration's response to the famine was callous and indifferent. Despite mounting evidence of widespread starvation, the colonial government was slow to react, prioritizing wartime exigencies over the lives of millions of Indians. Winston Churchill, then Prime Minister of Britain, infamously dismissed appeals for aid, declaring that the famine was the fault of Indians for breeding like rabbits. This callous disregard for human life stands as a chilling testament to the brutal realities of colonial rule. The legacy of these exploitative policies continues to haunt India today. The systematic dismantling of India's traditional industries, coupled with the forced dependence on cash crops, created structural imbalances in the Indian economy that persist to this day. The trauma of colonialism, etched in the collective memory of a nation, serves as a constant reminder of the human cost of greed and the enduring legacy of injustice. The human cost of Britain's colonial exploitation of India is immeasurable. Beyond the staggering financial drain, the true tragedy lies in the millions of lives lost and the generations condemned to poverty and deprivation. The OXFAM report highlights a chilling statistic: 59 million excess deaths in India between 1891 and 1920, a period marked by brutal exploitation and a series of devastating famines. These were not deaths from natural disasters or unavoidable circumstances. They were deaths from policies designed to prioritize profit over human life. The Bengal famine of 1943 stands as a particularly horrific example of the human cost of British indifference. As millions starved to death in the streets of Calcutta and the countryside lay littered with corpses, the British administration seemed more concerned with maintaining wartime supplies than alleviating the suffering of their colonial subjects. The images of skeletal children with distended bellies, pleading for a morsel of food, remain etched in the annals of history as a searing indictment of the brutality of colonialism. The famine was not merely a natural disaster, it was a man-made catastrophe exacerbated by British policies. The forced procurement of rice for the war effort, coupled with the restrictions on internal trade, created artificial scarcity and drove prices skyward. The colonial government's response was woefully inadequate, marked by bureaucratic inertia and a callous disregard for the plight of the starving millions. The Bengal famine serves as a stark reminder of the human face of colonialism. It was a tragedy that could have been averted had the colonial administration acted with even a modicum of compassion. Instead, millions were left to die, their cries for help ignored in the face of imperial indifference. This collective trauma continues to shape India's national psyche, a testament to the enduring legacy of colonial cruelty. The story of colonialism is not just about the past, it's about the present and the future. The wealth extracted from colonies like India laid the foundations for modern economic disparities. Today, the echoes of that colonial loot are still felt in the global inequality we witness. It's a complex legacy, one that continues to shape our world in profound ways. Understanding this history is crucial if we are to address the injustices that persist. So, let's delve deeper into how the economic impact of British colonialism has rippled through time, affecting nations and lives even now. Despite the promises of aid and development, the assistance provided by the United Kingdom has often fallen short. The financial support, while significant, has not addressed the systemic issues created by colonial exploitation. Many argue that this aid is a mere fraction of what is truly owed, considering the wealth extracted from India over centuries. Voices across the globe are increasingly calling for justice and recognition of the historical wrongs. Scholars, activists and policymakers urge for a formal acknowledgement of the economic and social damages inflicted during British rule. This is not just about reparations, but about an honest confrontation with history, paving the way for meaningful dialogue and reconciliation. To truly address the roots of inequality, it is essential to understand the historical context. The economic disparities seen today are deeply rooted in the colonial policies that prioritized British interests over local development. By examining these roots, we can begin to dismantle the structures that perpetuate inequality and work towards a more equitable future. Reckoning with the past is not an easy task, but it is a necessary one. By acknowledging the injustices and learning from them, we can build a better tomorrow. This process involves not only recognizing the wrongs, but also committing to actions that promote justice, equity, and prosperity for future generations. Together, we can create a world that honors its history while striving for a brighter future.